Welcome back to another episode of our Wyckoff crypto discussion. As usual, today we will study the crypto market through the lens of the Wyckoff method. This information is for educational purpose only and is not investment recommendation. Please stop the video and read the disclaimer. We have launched our Discord channel in early February. Here's the link to join our community. Here you will find our market updates on Bitcoin, crypto futures, altcoin, and so on. We are almost ready to launch the paid version, and so stay tuned. And now let's discuss the market. After the rotational supply that has come into the market in the last weeks, we are seeing signs of absorption, and we can say that the overall price action is very constructive. Here we see three charts. The Russell was holding very well during the reaction. The Nasdaq is underperforming, but is still in a potential giant apex, which really reminds me of the structure that we have seen on the other indexes in July and November 2020, and Bitcoin is showing sign of absorption too. Supply is decreasing, and we are currently hugging the resistance of this big trading range. The context of the market is very important for Bitcoin, because speculative assets like risk-off environments. And what we have seen the last few days is giving us a much more constructive picture. So we will analyze Bitcoin on daily, but before that, Roman, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, overall, it all looks bullish. And I mean, we're just having rotation out of big growth tech stocks. So all of the FAANG stocks are still in the trading ranges. So and they are being the source of funding for other assets. So the money goes away from Nasdaq stocks and then go, let's say, to small cap stocks or go to crypto assets. And crypto and Russell just reflect that rotation. So and both of them look great. So you would be drawn to these assets because you would be thinking that they will outperform on the way up. It's not that the Nasdaq is not going to go up. We're just thinking that Nasdaq right now is in somewhat of the trading range. Probably will test this resistance, will go down and then continue to the upside. But meanwhile, other assets might be running away. So we want to acknowledge that.
So macro structure for Bitcoin on the daily, logarithmic scale. Well, the structure is very constructive. And this is a giant reaccumulation. And I've divided this reaccumulation into many segments. And on the intraday, the PNF counter are suggesting this very interesting scenario. So basically, we could go up potentially to 68, 70. And after that target, there's a question. Could we have a bigger target for the whole formation, a bigger count? And that huge count could potentially project us toward $100,000. Of course, we have to go through this analysis step by step, confirmation after confirmation. But Roman, what do you see here on this chart?
Yeah, this was a very interesting shakeout type of action, right? So we have a relatively good rally. I mean, it just has all of the elements of supply absorption, deterioration of the demand into the end of it. Then we have emergence of the supply. Then supply is being diminished, and we don't have a lot of result, which is basically commitment below this lows, higher low, and then continuation. In our discussion in the Discord was, would we have another maybe leg down? And I remember, like with the Discord members, as we were discussing, we wish we would have a sprint. So this whole idea, we wish we would have a sprint, tells about two things. First, very high conviction in the analysis that Bitcoin and crypto just assets are going to go up, and specifically above 100,000. So, and second one, just a desire to get it cheaper, like around, close to 40,000. So that didn't happen. It's a failed signal in itself. So think about this. If it's a failed signal is the best signal in technical analysis. This means that a lot of the people were expecting another low, and now that it didn't happen, there might be just, overcoming of the high. That's number one. This Alessio's target here makes a lot of sense, which is a swing target. So kind of like a sign of strength of a sign of strength type of rally. Back up a little bit, not that dip anymore as we had here, and then continuation. Also a very interesting point here just on the tape reading. So these are the two analogs, and then look at the volume signatures. This is different. So this downward pressure was much more second time around, yet the result to the downside was slightly less. So that just tells us also about the bullishness, the overall bullishness. And we just had to decipher the tactics, which I didn't think that we did, an immensely great job, but somewhere here in this area, it has become evident that, we're probably going to rally. So any type of pro positions here that you guys established, and I've been establishing some of the positions on the way up, not necessarily in Bitcoin, but just Bitcoin related.
Yes.
ETFs.
I like here, Roman, the fact that supplies came on yesterday's bar, but today's test is very, very gentle with the low supply, higher low, sorry, and so it's very constructive. Of course, we could always fail here; it can happen, but I think that the overall picture is very constructive.
Okay, well, we always talk about don't predict the market, just kind of follow it. So this is a really good comment because supply is here. It's a very natural, logical place because this is where the selling occurred. Even if, let's say that we are not going up, right, and we fail, I still believe that in this scenario, we are kind of bound to go up after the reaction, which is going to be less than what we've seen here. Of course, low probability scenarios might be there for some kind of, more meaningful reactions, but at this point, doesn't look like it.
All right. And that further consolidation could be added to the whole count. So I think there are basically two ways that bring to the same result. So I think very
interesting. Let's look at the PNF counts. I'm very, very excited about this, Alessio, because just the overall idea that we should go to 100,000, we should go over 100,000. Bitcoin should, if you think that Bitcoin is in the news right now, wait until we approach 100. It's gonna be everywhere. Everybody's gonna talk about this, and that's kind of our expectation here on the sentiment. So how would we get there, Alessio, based on the PNF counts?
So we see 4 counts on this chart. The yellow count on the small accumulation that happened in late 2018. And look at the target, it's very precise. Then we have the green count. And this is a percentage scaling chart. So the percentage scaling is always tricky. You have to be very conservative when you're counting on 8% chart. So this count, look at the beautiful target we have, 45,000. Beautiful. It worked very well. And now we could start thinking about the huge accumulation base highlighted in blue on this structure. And this count point to $100,000, which is an impressive number for Bitcoin, also an important psychological level. And look at the last confirming count that we are building right now. So we are almost close. We are almost there to build this reaccumulation count that suggests the 100,000 target. So it's the confirming count technique. It's very common in the Wyckoff world. And please look at the phenomenal work by Professor Bruce Fraser about PNF charts. Roman, your thoughts?
Yeah, well, I love this chart. I love this counts because, they're confirming all of our long-term ideas that, Alessio and I, we had for some time. kind of was reminiscing a little bit with Alessio. So somewhere here, we were talking about how bullish Bitcoin looks long term, that we probably going to have this like long term cycle. And it just COVID changed the structure completely. Couple of thoughts on the counts themselves. So Alessia was talking when we were preparing for this session that the count could be extended up to this point. I think it's a very, very good idea. Why? Because you want to identify and you want to extend the count to the areas where accumulation has taken place. And we could see from the volume signature, as the volume is increasing, demand is most definitely present there, and somebody is accumulating Bitcoin at this price. And then I also would consider that the last points of a true accumulation has happened here as well for the same reason. Volume increase, presence of demand, absorption. So therefore, there is a potential to take the count from this, on this line right here, from this column across and up to this column here. And this would be an astronomical count, and we shouldn't really do this right now. And now that I'm thinking about this, I probably shouldn't even have mentioned it. Yeah, we were preparing. I'm like, yeah, this is just between us. Let's not talk about this. But it just makes sense in terms of the volume signature. I mean, like, look how in the confines of the boundaries of this count, you basically have the whole accumulation being shown on the volume. And that's how you have to think about the PNF. What are the elements of the accumulation that you could have? And then the next big question is, well, could the Bitcoin go over 100,000 and then go even higher? Well, yeah, absolutely. Why not? Right? It's a possibility. So once the 100 counts are going to be fulfilled, and we still see bullish activity there, and that's under the if condition, then we're going to come back and just look at that big count, and hopefully that would make sense. All right, Alessio, really loving this chart.
Yes, I love percentage scaling. And by the way, in the future, we will discuss both techniques, so traditional count and also percentage scaling. Mm-hmm. So here we see the crypto sector. So basically, the shitcoin index is leading the market. And I think that this price action is very constructive. The only thing that I don't like on these three indexes is the fact that DeFi is lagging on the last rally. So this is the only point of concern for me, but all the rest is very constructive. What do you think about this chart, especially the DeFi index?
Yeah, I really like the action in shitcoin right here. And if you guys remember, we were commenting how it is stronger than anything there, even the Bitcoin, because it was touching the resistance at this point, and Bitcoin still was not doing that. And obviously, as Alessio has said, DeFi is lagging. So I still would be concentrating on small caps and Bitcoin itself. I mean, like, depending on your investment strategies and investment intentions.
So we have discussed theta in the last Wyckoff discussion. So I think this was a nice call. But I published this chart today because I really like the idea of this upsloping big trading range on a logarithmic scale, which looks so weird. But this is a great chart, and it really reminds of what we are seeing in Bitcoin and what we have seen in Bitcoin in 2017, that famous analog that we have shared basically everywhere. So Roman, what do you see on this chart? Now, of course, we are really, if you want to enter in this market, it's very overbought. It can potentially continue to the upside, but if you want to look for point of entry, you have to go on the intraday. And but what do you think about this structure in general?
Yeah, I love this structure. Anything with the higher lows and higher highs in the structure is basically tells us that they do not allow the price to go lower. So they are buying sequentially at the higher levels, and as they buy, the buys are pushing the price into higher highs. So structurally, it's always great to see this type of higher highs, higher lows trading ranges. And then Apex always suggests some kind of acceleration of the momentum, and we obviously observe it here. So yeah, what's not to like?
So Kusama is in a much better structural point, because we see this trading range, logarithmic scale again, sign of strength, breaking up action, and the uptrend is very constructive here. And look where we are. There is still potential to go to the upside here, and also we are in this just breaking up this reaccumulation structure. So I think that this could be also a point of entry. Roman, what do you think?
Yeah, there is still some room here. So it's all tactics here. How do you actually trade this? Do you trade this as a swing trade? Do you trade this, if you have some, positions here. So for instance, like this was one of the points of entry. This was one of the points of entry. And I'm just thinking about like long term, like what are the points of entry at which spots? So all of those 1, 2, 3, 4. So you still close to the last point of entry, and you could add to this position right here and still have some room into the overbought condition. So yeah, I'm really liking this.
So the final chart for today in the section undervalued asset. So basic attention token has not a lot of relative strength compared to Bitcoin, Ethereum, other charts. So generally we focus on other assets. But sometimes institutions, crypto funds look also for a big accumulation base and relatively oversold values. Assets in oversold areas. So what we see here, there's nothing on the first half of the chart. And then look at the volume. Institutions are trying to enter this market in a very aggressive way. And we have just seen a backing up action on the all-time high. And now the price action is still constructing. So there is supply there, but there is also a lot of aggressive demand. What do you think about this chart, Roman?
Yeah, I like this idea of the aggressive institutional accumulation in this area. So they want to be in this asset right now. I wonder, Alessio, if short term we might have some kind of like small pullback and then continuation up. I'm just seeing a little bit of the demand deterioration, but might not. I mean, like, could if everything is going to be very strong, could just continue up. And it's such great spot. It's at the high probability spot in the structure where we just experienced the sign of strength. And then we are having a backing up action. All right. Well, with that, Alessio, thank you so much for today's review. Very exciting market. And I'm really happy that the Discord group is going so well. What are your thoughts on the Discord group? When could we, start going into the paid subscription, and how would it look like?
Well, first of all, I really like all the discussions on the free chat, and I think that the free chat will be always available for our traders. They can share their opinions, their chart. But we are also thinking in the next weeks to release new educational content, and also more accurate code. So there's a lot of work behind the scene, and I think that all our community will be very happy to see this new paid version of our Discord channel.
All right. Well, sounds great. Alessia, thank you so much. And thank you, everybody, for watching.